Well, guys, it seems like half of Missouri is vying to be the next Secretary of State. We've got candidates with lots of experience, candidates with no experience. We got rhinos, we got champions. Which one's going to fight for gun owners as the next Secretary of State? Stay tuned, guys. We're breaking this entire race down for you right now. Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here with the Missouri Firearms Coalition. If you're used to seeing these whiteboard race analysis videos, you know we try to make them concise, tight, and as short as possible. This, unfortunately, will not be one of those videos. Don't blame us. Blame the fact that everybody and their brother is running to be Secretary of State right now. It's a big race. There's a lot in the line. For those who don't know, the Secretary of State is the one who safeguards our elections. And when it comes to our gun rights, the Secretary of State's the one that certifies and looks at the structure of the various initiative petition ballot referendums that Bloomberg forces use to try to weaken our gun rights here in Missouri. The fact that we did not pass IP reform last session in Jeff City means that next year it's almost a foregone conclusion that Bloomberg forces will be trying to put gun control onto the ballot for the 2026 election cycle. It is critical as gun owners that we find a candidate who will actually fight to defend our gun rights using the power of the office of Secretary of State. Everybody says they're pro-gun at election time. Everyone claims to be a hero. Everyone's a champion. Everyone's got flashy social media. Everyone's got great Twitter videos. The question you've been asking us now for months about this race, as candidates come in, candidates drop off, the question you've asked us is very simple. Who can we freaking trust? Who can we count on? Who has a record that we can look at and consider when trying to decide who's going to fight for gun owners and who's trying to campaign off of our backs? Missouri has, unfortunately, a long history of candidates, especially those running statewide, who campaign on gun rights and do nothing to fight for them once they're elected, or even worse, fight to weaken and attack our gun rights in Jefferson City. This is one of those things that we have to get right, and it's important, I believe, as gun owners to be suspicious of everybody, especially candidates who are running for statewide office who will control the IP process in this state as a secretary going forward. And so again, being suspicious, we're going to give you guys the details on what these candidates have done, what they have not done, so you guys have all the information you need to make your own most informed decision. I told you, it's not going to be a quick video. It's going to be a long one. Maybe you have time to watch it now. Maybe you can watch it when you're driving. Don't let anybody see you doing that. I can tell you right now, when we get to Dumb Dean Plocker, we're going to go on for a long time. 9 years of history of this backstabbing rhino. We're going to lay it out for you by bill number, by date, by time, so you guys have the facts. The same thing for a lot of candidates up here. We're going to begin with Adam Schwadron. Now, when it comes to Adam, the good news here is a 100% pro-gun candidate survey from Adam. You can see his survey and everyone's surveys, at least the ones that completed the survey, on our website right now. Adam has pledged to use the power of the Office of Secretary to defend gun rights, to defend us against unconstitutional ballot referendums, and do everything he can to safeguard our gun rights. He has a history of voting pro-gun in the Missouri House. He's been there for a long time. His record when it comes to gun rights is strong, and his candidate survey was strong as well. That's the history, and that's the status when it comes to Adam Schwadron's candidacy. That's the information there. When it comes to Mary Coleman, we have a lot to say about Mary Coleman. For those who don't know, first let me begin. She has surveyed 100% pro-gun, as has Adam, and for that matter, as has Denny Hoskins, as has Valentina, just to get that out of the way. The problem with Mary Coleman is that, as many of our members know after what happened last session here in Jeff City, is that very often Mary Coleman's rhetoric comes nowhere near to matching Mary Coleman's actions in Jefferson City. And never was that more true than last year. Last year, Mary Coleman worked like crazy to make sure she was the floor manager of IP reform. For those who don't know, IP reform is the initiative petition process, and right now here in Missouri, it's very easy for outside groups like Bloomberg, like Soros, to come in here, hire a bunch of people to stand in parking lots, and get enough names on a petition process to put gun control on the ballot for a vote. Bloomberg knows he can't pass gun control right now in Jeff City. He can't do that, and he knows it. And so instead, they want to end run the legislature and get the IP process going to put gun control on the ballot. And if they do that, they trust they can get enough votes in St. Louis, Kansas City, Columbia, Springfield, or whatever it is, to force gun control into the Constitution, to repeal constitutional carry, to repeal stand your ground law, to mandate gun registration, possibly mandate a ban on AR-15s. It's a disaster waiting to happen. It is the weak spot in Missouri's overall strong pro-gun position, and everyone knows it. IP reform then was designed to change the threshold to make it harder for people to mess with the Constitution. It should be hard to adjust the Constitution. Missouri has a massive Constitution, one of the biggest in America, because it's so easy to change it. That's not good. We have to change it. And this year, in the Senate, when Mary Coleman had the bill and the Democrats mounted a roughly 50-hour filibuster, we were there, our entire team, and many of you there were there at the Capitol with us. We were working overtime to get the Republicans to break the Democratic filibuster. The Democrats were there literally for 50 hours, talking on the floor, tying up time to run out the clock on the session to make sure IP reform did not pass. All we have to do is get 10 senators to file a PQ motion. They could force the debate to end. They could pass IP reform, and this entire problem would be over. And our team spent a week there working on this. We had 9 senators on the PQ form, just need 10. And Mary Coleman came into a senator's office. She grabbed the form literally out of his hand, and she went on the Senate floor where she said she was pulling the bill from consideration, referring it to a kill committee to end debate because she was pissed off that she wasn't the one in charge of the PQ process. We gave Mary days of opportunity to help end the filibuster. She wouldn't do it. Instead, she threw a hissy fit, and she literally goes on the floor and gives the Democrats what they wanted, which was to pull the bill from consideration. It was horrific to watch. In fact, she didn't even know what to actually say to move the procedural motions necessary to withdraw the bill. And the Democrat leader, Senator Rizzo, literally walks up to her and he hands her a piece of paper with all the steps she has to have to kill it. And she looks at him and says, "Thank you. Thank you." So when it comes to Mary Coleman, sure, pro-gun survey, big deal. Her actions in Jeff City have made it abundantly clear that she chokes under the pressure. And again, as Secretary of State, who's going to be responsible for watching out for poorly written or unconstitutional attempts to modify our Constitution, it's that much more of a concern for us as gun owners. That's the recap on Mary Coleman. It's not good stuff. That brings up Senator Denny Hoskins. Denny Hoskins has been a fixture in Jeff City for 16 years, 8 years in the House, 8 years in the Senate. There's a reason they call him Big Denny Hoskins. And Denny has fought like hell. That's the short version for gun owners for the 16 years he's been in Jeff City. Of course, he has a 100% pro-gun survey, but much more important to us is a person's actions, right? Mary Coleman's actions, bad. Denny Hoskins' actions, strong. In 2021, when we were fighting to pass the Second Amendment Preservation Act, it was Denny Hoskins and 3 other senators who were on the Senate floor fighting to stop the Democrats from filibustering that bill as well. We were successful with Denny Hoskins' help to passing SEPA, which tells Joe Biden you can't use Missouri cops to enforce federal gun control laws. That was one of Denny Hoskins' big moments. He also fought to help us pass Stand Your Ground law. Right now here in Missouri, if somebody attacks you, you do not have to retreat before taking defensive action. It sounds like a small thing. It should be a small thing. It was a heck of a fight, and Denny Hoskins was there and helped us get that done in the House. The same thing for constitutional carry. Back in the old days, no one knows this, I guess, anymore now, but back in the old days, we had to get government permission to carry a handgun for self-defense. These days, of course, that's optional. If you want a permit, you can get a permit, but you don't have to beg the government for permission anymore to carry a handgun for self-defense. When we passed this several years ago, only a handful of states had passed constitutional carry. These days, I think it's 28 red states have enacted this awesome freedom legislation. We did it here in Missouri a long time ago, and Denny Hoskins was there and helped us ram that through and get it across the finish line, including overriding then Governor Jay Nixon's veto of the bill. That's all in the past. But just this past year, just this past session, 2024, it was Denny Hoskins who was the lead bill sponsor on Senate Bill 998. This is a bill that we were pushing in Jeff City to ban red flag gun seizures here in Missouri forever. You've probably heard of a red flag gun seizure. It allows an angry ex-spouse, it allows a crazy coworker, it allows a liberal college professor neighbor of yours to call you in and say, you might be dangerous. And if the courts agree, and the courts always agree, let's be honest, then your guns are confiscated before you've been arrested with anything, charged with anything, or convicted of anything. It shreds the idea of due process. It's complete crap. It's un-American. We shouldn't have to worry about this. And our goal here in Missouri is to ban red flags, as other red states have done. You should be convicted of a felony crime before you have your gun rights taken away, before you have your guns taken by the damn government. Denny Hoskins agrees, but unlike a lot of people on this board, he fought like a dog to work on this bill last session in Jeff City. He got the bill through committee. It was ready to go to the floor for a floor vote before the rhinos who run the Capitol killed the bill for the year. But it would never have gotten as far as it did without Denny Hoskins pushing all session long. So when it comes to Denny Hoskins, 100% survey and literally a 16-year-long record of fighting for the Second Amendment. That's the recap on Denny. This brings up Valentina Gomez. I got to give it to her. Valentina has a killer Twitter program. Not going to lie. I don't think anybody else comes close. I love watching her stuff. Not going to lie. It's entertaining. Valentina has surveyed 100% pro-gun, again, as many of these candidates have. We love what we see from her on social media. The only concern here is there's just no history. There's no chance to gauge Valentina Gomez under pressure to see how she would react. Would she choke like Mary Coleman does under pressure, or would she thrive under pressure like Big Denny Hoskins has? We just don't know because Valentina hasn't been in a position to be tested like that. We're concerned because we can't answer that question. This is a very critical time in our state. It's a very critical time in our country when it comes to our gun rights. And it's a very concerning thing to us that we just don't know. We can see the ads. We can see the videos. We can see her doing a mag dump with a .22 caliber machine gun. We can see all that. But we've seen that before here in Missouri, haven't we? And it didn't work out very good for us, did it? And so we're just not sure if that's a situation with Gomez or not. And because we can't answer that, we're going to move on to Dumb Dean Plocher. If you know anything about Missouri politics, you know that Dean Plocher has been probably the biggest rhino in state politics for at least the last 9 years. Dean Plocher came into the House in 2015. He replaced John Deal, who was kicked out for sexual harassment. And so he filled the last year of John Deal's term and then a full 8-year ride elected from his own district in Metro St. Louis. And Dean Plocher, for those 9 years, has been nothing but an enemy to gun owners. Of course, like everybody else, to watch him right now on social media, he's a champion when it comes to gun rights. But that's all crap, and we're going to lay it out for you in detail. If you want to get popcorn, now's the time to hit pause and make that happen. I'm going to go from the most recent. I'm going to go back because, some people have a bad day, right? I mean, some people just have a bad day. They cast a bad vote. They make the wrong call. Once in a while that happens. Once in a while they acknowledge it, once in a while they apologize for it, and we can all move on. But that's not the case when it comes to Dean Plocher. All right. For the last 2 years, he's been Speaker of the House. As Speaker of the House, you have all the power to get bills to move or not. This year, Dean Plocher held on to five gun bills until the very last day of session. And what that means is we get them filed, or others get them filed, and the process works by the Speaker assigns them to a committee, and the bills can then begin to move. In reality, the Speaker assigns them to a committee. He calls the chairman one night and says, make this bill a priority. The chairman then gets it done, and the bill goes to the floor for a vote. That's the power of the Speaker of the House. And Dean did the exact opposite of that. Instead, he held these bills until the very last day of session, when he referred them as a slap in the face to gun voters and the lawmakers who were pushing these bills. Those bills are House Bill 1651. This is our bill to ban red flag gun seizures. I told you how Denny Hoskins is doing that in the Senate. We're doing that in the House. Dean Plocher killed it, would not refer it to a committee. It got no hearing. It got no vote. That's because of Dean Plocher. The same thing for House Bill 2778. This bill prevents the government from tracking your online sales activity or purchases when it comes to firearms and ammunition. The government should never know what you're buying. That's preposterous. This bill would have blocked that. And again, Dean would not let the bill even go to a committee, let alone have a hearing. The same thing for House Bill 1408. This bill allows people to leave their firearms in their car as they go to work if their place of employment does not allow firearms on the premises. It's a hot issue. Lots of folks have this problem, especially in metro communities. This bill would address that. Dean Plocher, again, killed it, would not even refer it to a committee until the last day. Same thing with House Bill 2559. This is enhanced stand your ground law. I mentioned how we have a weakness in stand your ground law here in Missouri. This bill would fix that, but Dean killed it by not referring it until the last day. The only gun bill that Dean did not kill right off the bat was House Bill 1708. This bill would repeal some of the gun-free zones we have here in Missouri. We have a lot of gun-free zones in Missouri. They're mandated by state law, not federal law, and it leaves us vulnerable in these places because we can't fight back, right? Criminals can shoot up a place, but we can't carry a firearm for self-defense. They're deadly, they're stupid, we all know it. Dean Plocher allowed the bill to move forward in committee. It's the one small thing he did right for the last couple of years here in Jeff City. And then the Super Bowl parade happens in Kansas City, and a bunch of thugs shot at a bunch of thugs, and somehow that's our fault. Somehow it's your fault. And so immediately Dean does what Dean does. He panics like a girl. No offense to all the pro-gun girls out there, but Dean, he sure acts like one. He pulls the bill from consideration and he kills it. He kills it. It was on the fast track, supposedly, to be heard, and HB 1708 was killed because of Dean Plocher. That's 2024. I told you, get some popcorn. There's a lot more coming. 2023, just last year, Dean Plocher puts Lane Roberts in as chairman of the Crime Prevention Committee. Now, if you know Jeff City, if you know some of the players, Lane Roberts from Joplin is an angry, and I mean angry, anti-gun Republican who is always trying to insert gun control into bills and or trying to tank pro-gun bills like the Second Amendment Preservation Act. He tried doing that in 2021. He got rickrolled, and he's been angry about it ever since. So in 2023, now he's the emboldened chairman of the Crime Prevention Committee, and he's running the crime bill that year, House Bill 301. Started out as an okay bill. Not a big deal. We were watching it, did not directly tie into gun rights, and so we were neutral on the bill. And then in committee, I want to be clear on this. Nothing happens in a committee unless the Speaker of the House approves it. That might sound like it's impossible to micromanage that. Trust me, it's not. When a chairman in a committee moves a bill, it's because he was told to do so by the Speaker. When a chairman of the committee runs an amendment onto a bill, it's because he was told to do so by the Speaker. Nothing happens in committee in the House, I want to be clear on that, without the authority of the Speaker of the House. And so when Lane Roberts is running the crime bill, he runs an amendment in there that would make it a crime for anyone under 18 to possess a firearm. And so I immediately go to dumb Dean's office. I'm like, Dean, what are you doing? So we're meeting in his office, and he's all pissed off, and he's yelling and shouting and cussing. The guy's got quite a mouth on him. And we have a real problem in St. Louis. We have to stop the crime in St. Louis. And I'm like, how in the world do you think that a gun control amendment is going to stop crime in St. Louis? The problem in St. Louis is not guns. It's cultural, it's families, it's education, it's Kim Gardner, who was, at the time, still the prosecutor in St. Louis. It's a broken system that won't prosecute criminals, won't put them in prison. It's single-parent homes, broken families, broken schools, broken churches, and somehow, you, Dean, are going to fix all of that by making it a crime for my 17-year-old and for your 17-year-old to possess a firearm. I told him he was an idiot, and they didn't want to pull the bill, and so we began to put pressure on them with calls and emails from gun owners, and eventually that language was removed. But that wasn't even the half of it. The next time we had that same committee, in February, I think it was February 23, I think it was, Lane Roberts then runs an amendment, again, with permission from the Speaker of the House. That's how the game is played here in Jeff City. Lane Roberts runs another amendment, and this time it says if you want to sell ammo here in Missouri, you have to have a permit, a literal permit from the Secretary of State. And what that means then is that if you wanted to sell a box of shotgun shells to your buddy on deer opener day because the moron didn't bring his ammo in his hunting bag, how many of you guys have friends like that? You know, you'd have to have a permit from the state, or you'd be a criminal. If you sold any ammunition to a buddy, and if he Venmo'd you $25, you'd be a criminal without having that permit. It was absolutely insane. And we had to thump the committee. I mean, we were texting everybody. I was there. We were texting the committee members. We were having our members call the committee, calling their offices. And it took a bunch of other conservatives that have a pair to stand up in committee and shout down that amendment against their own party leadership, authorized by dumb Dean Plocher. That's what I'm saying. We're not just talking about killing pro-gun bills. We're talking about overt actions on the part of Republicans to pass gun control, to insert gun control into the bill. Now, that's just the last 2 years as Speaker of the House. It's just the last 2 years. We can't forget 2021, 2022, when he was the majority floor leader. The floor leader has tremendous power in the House, second only to the Speaker of the House. And how do you think Dean used that power? Well, I'll give you an example. House Bill 2118. This was our bill, again, to enhance stand your ground law. We got it through committee. It was re-referred to another committee. We got it through that committee. It was then floor eligible. What that means is the bill is live. It's kind of in the chamber, ready to pull the trigger, right? It's passed committee, passed another committee, and now it's ready to go at a moment's notice, put it on the floor, have the vote, and get it done. What do you think Dean did with that? It was eligible for 2 months, so about the middle of March of 2022, we had 60 days to hold a floor vote. Would have taken 45 minutes, maybe, a floor time to get it done. What do you think Dean did? Nothing. He killed it. He would not call it up, and as majority leader, that is entirely his prerogative. He could do it anytime he wanted to, and he refused. 2021, same deal on House Bill 86. This was our bill to fix the problem with deadly gun-free zones. Same deal. Get it through committee. This was a little bit tighter. He had 3 weeks. But look, most everything of consequence in Jeff City happens in the last 3 or 4 days. That's normal here in Jeff City. So 3 weeks is an eternity when it comes to legislative time. Dean Plocher has 3 weeks. Again, it's House Bill 86. Sat on it, killed it, would not call it up to the floor for a vote. Insulting. Now, you might ask yourself, well, I've seen him say on social media that he helped pass the Second Amendment Preservation Act. Didn't that happen when he was the majority floor leader? Well, it did, but that does not mean that Dean helped to get it done. We had 75 members of the House, give or take, who co-sponsored SEPA. Do you think maybe Dean Plocher, when he sees 75 members of his caucus co-sponsor a bill, you think maybe he would do it? You think maybe he would join the fight? No, not Dean. He refused to co-sponsor. And the only reason why that bill moved to the floor is because at that time, the Speaker of the House was Rob Vescovo, and Rob Vescovo was ruthless, pushing Plocher to get that bill on the floor. Vescovo never stopped pushing Plocher, and finally Plocher's like, fine, we'll have the vote. That's how SEPA passed the House. Not because of Dean Plocher, because of Speaker Rob Vescovo. 2 years before that, there's more coming. 2 years before that, he was a chair of the General Laws Committee, 2019 to 2020. The Gen Laws Committee, as it's called, is where most of the gun bills go in the House in Jeff City to be considered. It's a standard committee process. That's where almost all the gun bills have gone. In 2020, we had gun-free zone repeal filed in the House, House Bill 1638, and it was referred to the committee because Dean didn't have the ability then to kill bills and not refer them. It was referred to Dean's committee. You think maybe Dean held a hearing on the bill? You know, invite gun owners in there, invite the public in there, have a hearing. You think he did that? No hearing. Now again, the chairmen do the bidding of the speaker when it comes to moving bills out of the committee, but any chairman has the power to hold a hearing on a bill anytime he or she wants to. That's the prerogative of the chair. Dean Plocher used his power to do nothing and killed the bill in committee, no hearing, no nothing. Also in 2020, he refused to hold a hearing on House Bill 1567. This again is that parking lot storage bill that allows gun owners a process to secure firearms in their vehicle as they walk into a place of employment where firearms are not allowed. It's a hot topic, has been for a long time. Plocher spit in the face of gun voters and wouldn't even hold a hearing on that. Same thing in 2019. Now this is the Second Amendment Preservation Act. You know, the bill I told you that Dean did not want to pass and did so because he was ordered to do so by the Speaker. House Bill, let's see here, 1039. It was our attempt to pass SEPA in 2019. We were all concerned about the elections in 2020. We didn't know if Trump was going to win or if Biden was going to say he won or whatever was going to happen. And so we wanted to have SEPA in place to protect gun owners. So Dean allows, we have a hearing on the bill. We get past the hearing. All we have to do now is have a vote. Dean does nothing, kills it, bill dies, you're gone. Same thing again on parking lot storage. This time it was House Bill 82, kills it, has a hearing, will not call for a vote, nothing. So folks, I know it's been laborious. We've taken a long time to give you literally 6 years worth of bill numbers, dates, times, details. It's a lot of information here. I can sum it up though in a simple sentence. Dean Plocher has done nothing but stab gun voters in the back for 9 years here in Jefferson City. He is now claiming to be some kind of a champion. The guy is a chump. Look at his face. That has chump written all over it. We know it. Everyone knows it. Gun voters know it. Everyone in Jeff knows it. The lobbyists know it. Everyone knows it. The guy chokes under pressure, similarly to Mary Coleman, and he has tanked gun bills repeatedly for 9 years in Jefferson City. So guys, that's the recap. Like I said, we have some folks who've been overt enemies. We have some folks who have surveyed well, but we have no history, no way to verify what Gomez would do under pressure. We've got Big Denny Hoskins, who has fought like hell for gun rights for 16 years and has surveyed pro-gun. We have Mary Coleman, who of course claims to be pro-gun, but when she has a chance, she kills IP reform, a major pro-gun bill, with help from Senate Democrats. And we have Adam Schwadron, who has surveyed pro-gun and has voted pro-gun during his time in the Missouri House. Like I told you, we can't tell you who to vote for, but we do hope that this video gives you some context on these candidates, on their actions, on their actual deeds. Cut past the rhetoric, cut past the noise, cut past the videos on X, and give you guys a real snapshot on their actual deeds under fire here in Jeff City. Guys, that's the recap. Do me a favor, share it on social media. Make sure everyone knows where these candidates stand. To see more race breakdowns, go to our Twitter page, go to Facebook, YouTube, our website. There's a lot more out there. And guys, to get involved in the fight, go to joinmofc.com.